Hi, this is Kat. Today's video ended up being about 3 times longer than I had planned, and it's certainly too long to put up in one hit. So I'm going to break it down to a couple of parts. I hope you enjoy it. Look forward to seeing you. Good morning, I'm Kat from Vanderkeet Design, and welcome to day 2 of my 100-day project. For those of you who didn't see yesterday's project, I'm working on 100 different patchwork squares to make a large crocheted blanket. So yesterday's squares with starburst suns, and you can find the pattern for this in the links below yesterday's video, as well as on my blog site and on Pinterest. Today's square is looking at, or we're doing, a essentially, it could be a flower or a cross depending on how you want to look at the pattern. I decided I wanted to focus on the cross shape in the center rather than on making it a flower. If you want to make it a flower, you just do the second row, or row 2, in the same color as your row 3. Because I wanted to make this a cross, I decided that I'd change the colors at a different point, and I'll show you how to do that. After yesterday's, I decided it was actually easier to crochet this up first before showing you how to do it, so that I could find out what the pitfalls of the pattern were, because there are quite a few. This one is in some ways easier because the stitches are easy. We did most of them yesterday. It's predominantly double crochets throughout. There are some little trick stitches, however. We've got some treble crochet front post coming stitches, and they're on the final round of the original pattern. So the final round ends at that point, and I've just added extra rounds to make these squares big enough for my blanket. There's also a toggle 5 together double crochet, and there are some treble crochets that are hiding in here. So I will go through from the start. So we'll also make sure that there are timestamps below, so that if you want to find your way to a particular round or not wait for me to get there, you're welcome to skip ahead anytime you want. So the colour, I'm going to use a different yarn to do the demonstration, but I'll use the 5mm hook, which is what I've been using on these squares. So this is an 8-ply yarn, whereas the yarn that's being used for this blanket is approximately 10 or 12 ply. Fortunately, it wasn't on the ball of yarn, and the only indication to ply on the ball of yarn was that it said use 5mm needles, and they had nothing for hook size. So I'll just put that back there. So the stitches involved in this, or that we're using in this pattern, include treble crochet, double crochet, single crochet, chain stitch and slip stitch. And we also have 2 different techniques that are added. So front post treble crochet together, and then working in the back loop only, and that's on the second final round. Again, I will make sure that the text is available of the stitches that I'm using, because I do tend to blend and meld US terminology and British terminology. I apologise for that in advance. Now this pattern starts off with a fine chain loop. And if you want to do it that way, that's fine. Chain 5, join, slip stitch your loop together at the end. As I said in yesterday, I prefer to use the magic circle. So I'm going to use that instead, because it just gives me, I find it gives better control over the diameter of that circle when you're working on a pattern. Particularly if there's tight stitches, or by tight, I mean if there's a lot of stitches in the center. So I'm going to do a locking stitch to hold that circle in place, so it still can move, but it's not going to come undone easily. Now for the first round, we're going to do 5 double crochet, chain 3, then 5 more double crochet, chain 3, and that again twice. So there will be 5 clusters of double crochet, as well as 4 clusters of double crochet, 5 double crochets, and 4 sets of 3 chain spaces. So to get to the first double crochet, I'm going to chain 3. I'm going to pause after the second one, and I'm going to put a stitch marker in here so that when we get to the end of the round, it is easier to get the hook into the third stitch so that we can join the round together. So the third stitch, that's our first double crochet, then 4 more, so over, through and through, 1, 2, 3 and 4. It's worth double checking those to make sure that you've got all the stitches, remembering that this 3 chains section is standing in as your first double crochet. Chain 3, 2 and 3, and then do 5 more double crochet, so over, through, pull through, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 3, 2 and 3, just tighten that a little, 5 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, chain 3, 2, 3, and the last set of 5 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, get that through properly, 4 and 5, and chain 3, 2 and 3. I'm going to tighten that circle a bit. As I said yesterday, I will not pull this completely closed. There are a large number of stitches here, and pulling it till it's cinched down to nothing is going to leave a lot of bulk in the center of this square, which I don't want to have. So I'm going to slip stitch using the stitch marker, which leaves a really nice space in there so that you can slip stitch into the third chain from the base of your circle. Then remove the mark once you're in there. And that's round 1 finished. So you should have, just pull that through, the end of round 1. Should have a small square, and the sides will have 5 double crochet with a 3 chain space at the corners on each corner. At this point, if you wanted to change colours, you could. You could change colours on every row if you wanted to, but if you want to change colours here and do rounds 2 and 3 in the same colour, you will end up with essentially a flower petal on each side of this, or each of the corners of this pattern. I want to keep the cross, so I'm going to keep this colour on for the next round. So round 2 is going to be treble 5 double crochet together with the double crochet stitched into each of these double crochets below. Because they're trebled together, this pattern only calls for 2 chain stitches, so that it will appear that your first double crochet, or the chain stitch for your first double crochet, will be toggled with the other 4 stitches on this section. So I'm putting the stitch marker in because this is going to be the stitch we want to join into at the end of this round. And to toggle them together, we're going to go, this chain is the first stitch that's tied into the first double crochet or your chain stitch below. So the next stitch is a double crochet into the next stitch, pull through 2, then leave the last 2 stitches on your hook, or the last 2 loops on your hook, because we're going to toggle every stitch that we're stitching into here into a single stitch. So yarn over, go through, come back, pull through 2, and you'll have 3 tongue-tied again, 3 loops left on your hook, yarn over through the 4th stitch, through, pull through 2, which will leave 4, yarn over through the 5th stitch, pull through 2, and at this point you should have 5 loops on your hook, because this is a chain or set of chain stitches coming up. If it had been another double crochet, you would have 6, which we will on the next side. So with 5 chains on your hook, pull through, or yarn over and pull through all 5, and that's that. Move the stitch marker out of the way so that you can see. So you've got 5 double crochet toggled together into the 5 stitches of the row below. Then we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to get to the corner space. Now this corner space we're not going to do a single crochet into, we're only going to slip stitch into this corner space, because when we get to the 3rd row or the 3rd round, the stitches from the 3rd round on these corners is also going into the same space. So you don't want a single crochet underneath that, you just want to do enough to anchor your yarn into that position, and then chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again we're going to do toggle 5 double crochet together into the 5 stitches, or the 5 double crochet of the row below. So into the 1st stitch, so yarn over into the stitch, through, pull through 2, and this time you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over into the 2nd stitch, pull through 2, and you've got 3 loops left on your hook, yarn over into the 3rd stitch, pull through 2, and there should be 4 loops left on the hook, yarn over into the 4th, pull through 2, leaving 5, and yarn over into the last double crochet below, pull through 2, and you should have 6 loops left on your hook, pull through, yarn over and pull through all 6 loops, chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to do again a slip stitch into this corner space, chain 5 again, and you're going to do exactly the same thing on the other 2 sides. So toggle 5 double crochet together into the double crochet stitches of the row below, chain 5, slip stitch into the corner, chain 5, 5 more double crochet together into the double crochet of the round below, chain 5, slip stitch into, when I find it, into this corner, chain 5, and I will join you back here before we join this round together. Welcome back. We're now at the end of the row, so I've done the last chain 5 from the final 3 chain space below. I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this toggle 5 double crochet together. This is actually quite a loose stitch, so you could probably get away with not using a stitch marker to get into here. So you're going to slip stitch through there. And if I was continuing with this same colour, I would then do a second slip stitch, or at least according to the pattern they want a second slip stitch going into here. So you'd go through the back of that stitch essentially, which is a little more difficult to do. And do a second slip stitch, and then you would start the next round from that point. Because I'm going to change colour, I'm just going to end this colour here, finish that one off, and I'm going to start my next round using yellow. So round 3 is going to be a set of basically fans, or the tops of the petals. So if we pull out, if you're making your pattern into petals, it's going to be this round here that I've got in yellow. So we've got, essentially it's a shell or a cluster of 5 treble crochet with a 2 chain space. Here it's covered by the round after, but there's a 2 chain space in there, and then another 5 treble crochet all into the space between your stitches from round 1. So start the round by slip stitching. I'm going to just move over here into the top of the stitch from the toggle 5 double crochet. I'm tongue-tied again. I was doing reasonably okay for a bit there. So we're going to just slip stitch that, or slip that in, and we do a slip stitch. And our fans are going to start here. So we're going to, from here, going to go straight into a treble crochet. So yarn over twice, and we're doing the treble crochet into the stitch space from round 1. So we're going over the top of the slip stitch into that space, pull through 2, pull through 2 without splitting your yarn, through 2 again. I'll just tidy that up a little bit, move that over there. So then we do that another 4 times. So yarn over twice, through the space from round 1, pull through 2, through 2, through 2, it's 2, yarn over twice, through the space from round 1, pull through 2, through 2, through 2, 1 more, yarn over twice, to the space, through 2, through 2, through the last 2, chain 2 stitches. Going to do exactly the same thing again into this space, into the same space from round 1. So again, yarn over twice, into the same space, through 2, through 2, and through 2. I'm just going to get some more yarn here. So over, whoops, yarn over twice before going into the space, yarn over twice, through 2, through 2, through 2, yarn over twice, through 2, through 2 and 2, one more time, yarn over twice, through 2, through 2, through the last 2. And then I'm just trying to make sure they're actually in that space. We're going to slip stitch this into the stitch for the double crochet, toggle 5 double crochet together of the round below. So we're going to turn around and just find that's the top of the stitch there. So we're going to slip stitch that into there, and then we go 4 treble crochet into the next 3 chain space, 3 chain space of round 1. So back through 2, whoops, through 2, through 2. Now I know that front stitch is very loose, so and that happens if you've not held your yarn tight enough when you're going around the loop. So I'm going to go back to that one, make sure that it is tighter, yarn over twice, into the space, through 2. I'm holding it quite close there to make sure that I don't get such a large stitch at the top, and that one's much better than the last one was. So that again. Through 2, splitting the yarn here. Then chain 2, 1, 2. Sorry, no, we want 4 before we chain 2. So yarn over again, twice, through 2, 2, through 2. Do it again. 2, through 2, through 2, then chain 2. Then you would do that again back into this 3 chain space. Once you've done 4 treble crochet, you would then need to slip stitch it to the top of the stitch and keep going around until you've got 4 of these fans all the way around your circle, and I will meet you back before we join it to the beginning of the round. Come back. So I've done all of the treble crochet shells into these corner spaces of row 1, and I'm just going to slip stitch this back into the same stitch that we started on. So it's the top of the toggle 5 double crochet together from the round below. Again, if you was going to stay with the same colour from this point, you would chain 3 to get to for the next round. I'm changing colour here, so I'm going to finish off with the yellow, and I'm just going to pull that through so that that stitch is finished there. And we now have our square again, and you can see how we've now gotten rid or covered up and hidden those chain spaces in between the arms, I guess, of this cross or this base of this flower, And all you have now in that original colour are, I guess, these petals that are left. And this is completely hidden, or the chain is completely hidden by the next round. So this is a really good pattern for changing colours on, because each round hides the chain spaces and chain stitches from the round before.